it chapter by chapter, one bite at a time. So many adventures and mountains we can climb. Take it word for word, line by line, one bite at a time.
Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read, and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. If you want to know what's coming next and vote on upcoming books, sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. You can find most of our links in the show notes, but also our website, biteatatimebooks.com, includes all of the links for our show, including to our Patreon to support the show, and YouTube, where we have special behind the narration of the episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic authors to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please note, while we try to keep the text as close to the original as possible, some words have been changed to honor the marginalized communities who've identified the words as harmful, and to stay in alignment with Bite at a Time Books' brand values. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 8. A Successful Interrogatory. An hour later, in the darkness of the night, two men and a child presented themselves at number 62 Rue Petit Picpus. The elder of the men lifted the knocker and rapped. They were Fauchelevert, Jean Valjean, and Cosette. The two old men had gone to fetch Cosette from the fruiterer's in the Rue du Chemin Vert, where Fauchelevert had deposited her on the preceding day. Cosette had passed these 24 hours trembling slightly and understanding nothing. She trembled to such a degree that she wept. She had neither eaten nor slept. The worthy fruit seller had plied her with 100 questions without obtaining any other reply than a melancholy and unvarying gaze. Cosette had betrayed nothing of what she had seen and heard during the last 2 days. She divined that they were passing through a crisis. She was deeply conscious that it was necessary to be good. Who has not experienced the sovereign power of those two words, pronounced with a certain accent in the ear of a terrified little being? Say nothing. Fear is mute. Moreover, no one guards a secret like a child. But when, at the expiration of these lugubrious 24 hours, she beheld Jean Valjean again, she gave vent to such a cry of joy that any thoughtful person who had chanced to hear that cry would have guessed that it issued from an abyss. Fauchelevert belonged to the convent and knew the passwords. All the doors opened. Thus was solved the double and alarming problem of how to get out and how to get in. The porter who had received his instructions opened the little servant's door which connected the courtyard with the garden, and which could still be seen from the street 20 years ago in the wall at the bottom of the court which faced the carriage entrance. The porter admitted all three of them through this door, and from that point they reached the inner reserved parlor where Fauchelevert, on the preceding day, had received his orders from the prioress. The prioress, rosary in hand, was waiting for them. A vocal mother with her veil lowered stood beside her. A discreet candle lighted, one might almost say, made a show of lighting the parlor. The prioress passed Jean Valjean in review. There's nothing which examines like a downcast eye. Then she questioned him. "You are the brother?" "Yes, Reverend Mother," replied Fauchelevert. "What is your name?" Fauchelevert replied, "Old-time Fauchelevert." He really had a brother named Old-time, who was dead. "Where do you come from?" Fauchelevert replied, "From Picquigny, near Amiens." "What is your age?" Fauchelevert replied, 50. "What is your profession?" Fauchelevert replied, "Gardener." "Are you a good Christian?" Fauchelevert replied, "Everyone is in the family." "Is this your little girl?" Fauchelevert replied, "Yes, Reverend Mother." "You are her father?" Fauchelevert replied, "Her grandfather." The vocal mother said to the prioress in a low voice, "He answers well." Jean Valjean had not uttered a single word. The prioress looked attentively at Cosette and said half aloud to the vocal mother, "She will grow up ugly." The two mothers consulted for a few moments in very low tones in the corner of the parlor. Then the prioress turned round and said, "Father Fauvert, you will get another kneecap with a bell. 2 will be required now." On the following day, therefore, 2 bells were audible in the garden, and the nuns could not resist the temptation to raise the corner of their veils. At the extreme end of the garden, under the trees, 2 men, Fauvert and another man, were visible as they dug side by side. An enormous event. Their silence was broken to the extent of saying to each other, "He is an assistant gardener." The vocal mothers added, "He is a brother of Father Fauvert." Jean Valjean was, in fact, regularly installed. He had his belt kneecap. Henceforth, he was official. His name was old-time Fauchelevert. The most powerful determining cause of his admission had been the prioress's observation upon Cosette. She will grow up ugly. The prioress, that pronounced prognosticator, immediately took a fancy to Cosette and gave her a place in the school as a charity pupil. There's nothing that is not strictly logical about this. It is in vain that mirrors are banished from the convent. Women are conscious of their faces. Now girls who are conscious of their beauty do not easily become nuns, the vocation being voluntary in inverse proportion to their good looks. More is to be hoped from the ugly than from the pretty. Hence, a lively taste for plain girls. The whole of this adventure increased the importance of good old Fauchelevert. He won a triple success. In the eyes of Jean Valjean, whom he had saved and sheltered, in those of grave-digger Gribier, who said to himself, "He spared me that fine," with the convent, which, being enabled, thanks to him, to retain the coffin of Mother Crucifixion under the altar, eluded Caesar and satisfied God. There was a coffin containing a body in the Petit Picpus, and a coffin without a body in the Vaugirard cemetery. Public order had no doubt been deeply disturbed thereby, but no one was aware of it. As for the convent, its gratitude to Fauchelevert was very great. Fauchelevert became the best of servitors and the most precious of gardeners. Upon the occasion of the Archbishop's next visit, the prioress recounted the affair to his Grace, making something of a confession at the same time, and yet boasting of her deed. On leaving the convent, the Archbishop mentioned it with approval, and in a whisper to Monsieur de Latil, Monsieur's confessor. Afterwards, Archbishop of Reims and Cardinal. This admiration for Fauchelevert became widespread, for it made its way to Rome. We've seen a note addressed by the then reigning Pope Leo XII to one of his relatives, Monseigneur in the nuncio's establishment in Paris, and bearing, like himself, the name of Delagenga. It contained these lines: "It appears that there is in a convent in Paris an excellent gardener who is also a holy man named Fauvert." Nothing of this triumph reached Fauchelevert in his hut. He went on grafting, weeding, and covering up his melon beds, without in the least suspecting his excellences and his sanctity. Neither did he suspect his glory any more than a Durham or Surrey bull whose portrait is published in the London Illustrated News with this inscription: "Bull which carried off the prize at the cattle show." Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com and check out the shop. You can check out the show notes or our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media as well.